I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us for the Maple Grove City Report. And as you see, a little different setting today for Heidi and I as we talk about what's new in the city of Maple Grove. In the last council meeting, Heidi is in the office there in the city of Maple Grove. I'm at the CCX studio. And again, Heidi, the Maple Grove City Administrator. Heidi, first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us in an electronic fashion. And just quickly, how are things going at the city?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. We're doing well. We've really modified all of our operations here to operate both kind of remotely and in the electronic world online as much as we can. We've moved a lot of staff around in our facilities. We've changed schedules to stagger staff to really reduce that in-person interaction between staff. I mean, our goal is to really create a safe environment for our staff so that they can stay healthy as long as they possibly can and continue to provide service to the community. A lot of pressures on, different areas of, park and recreation programs and the parks, the use in the parks, that kind of a thing. And we can talk about that a little bit later, our approach on that. But, we've adopted the word pivoting here at the city. We do a lot of pivoting on a daily basis and changing our operations. But the good news is we've made a lot of investments in technology over the last really 3 to 5 years here in the organization. So there's really not a whole lot that we can't do with technology to serve the public. So we'll continue to pivot as we see, the governor's holding a press conference this afternoon, and we'll see what that holds for us. But we'll continue to modify operations as needed as we go forward.
Very good. And again, for the viewers, we're taping this on April 8th, just before the governor's press conference. So again, a lot of things we talk about might have an impact of what the governor has to say. The meeting we're talking about is from the 6th, and talking about online use. You have the technology up and running. Tell us how council meetings are going these days and how technology is a big part of that.
Yeah, so we're using a WebEx system for our council meetings. The council's all participating, remotely from their homes. They're utilizing their iPads that we had deployed to them for our electronic agenda process. So that was great to have them have that technology in their hands and be able to utilize that. The mayor's coming into the chambers for the meeting, so he's sitting kind of alone in the chambers.
Right.
We do still have the door to the government center open. We recognize that there may be folks in the community that don't have access to technology, and so we want to be, receptive to that. We do have, things spaced out in the chambers. We're doing extra sanitation, that kind of a thing. So we have completely shifted our meeting format. We're encouraging people, if they have concerns that they want the council to address, whether it's for something that's on an agenda or not on an agenda. We have a public comment form that's available on our website that people can fill out prior to the meeting or even during the meeting. We're monitoring that to see if something comes in. And the other pieces that we're working on is we'll talk a little bit about the Board of Appeal process that's coming up on a call-in piece for that, just to be able to make sure that people have an opportunity to be heard if they so choose to do so. So it's been a bit of a shift. I want to give a shout out to our IT staff. I think they've been working around the clock just in terms of getting our staff to work remotely and then troubleshooting the many things that occur with working remotely and getting access to the network and phones and all those kinds of things. And in addition to that, changing our meeting form completely to an online format. And thanks to staff at CCX for helping us with that and making that rather seamless. And the live stream of the meetings goes out like the normal meetings would. And so, so far so good. It's kind of went off without a hitch. So thank you for everybody who helped us out with that.
Yes, a lot of people coming together to make things happen these days. So we want to talk about the 2 meetings that were on April 6th, on Monday. There was a special meeting ahead of time. We're going to talk about COVID-19. That was the focus of that first meeting. And then we'll talk about COVID-19 within the council meeting itself, and also some other notes at the end of the program. So stay tuned for all of those. Let's talk about this special meeting. There were about 5-6 topics that were covered here related to the city, because you're not only looking at response right now, but a little bit further down the road. Tell us about the content of that special meeting.
Yeah, so we've done some kind of initial work here to understand kind of what the budget impacts will be to the city, both in kind of the short term, the midterm, and then long term. We really kind of want to get our arms around that and prepare for that and plan for that in the best way possible. So we presented the council with some preliminary information about what we view as impacts to the general fund budget. We're kind of looking at, if things are kind of shut down or slow down through the July timeframe, just to give ourselves a couple months here to predict about. If it doesn't have to be that long, that's great. But I think we want to be conservative in our thought process about this. So looking at both the general fund and then also with our community center being closed and our parks and recreation programs not operating or being canceled, looking at kind of what that means to those revenue projections. So provided some of that information out to the council. Really weren't looking for, action on Monday night. It was more just to kind of get them starting thinking about, what this could mean and what issues we might have to deal with down the road. Depending on, what the length of kind of this shutdown period is, and then what it looks like when it comes back. What will business look like? How comfortable will people be, going to the community center or participating in rec programs, or, will those be postponed till the fall or canceled through the fall? So we're just trying to stay nimble and see kind of where the state direction goes, but also be aware of what kind of those impacts are and be prepared for those. So that was that. We're also working on staffing plans. I mentioned, we have a lot of folks working remotely. We've repurposed a number of our staff to things that are important now. And so we continue to look at those things. So we want to make sure we have a plan kind of for every phase, of what we'll go through here from, the next closure period and then beyond that. And then, looking ahead in terms of what might happen with our tax base here in Maple Grove and being prepared for some of those changes as well.
Another item that was touched on at the special meeting on the 6th was the farmers market. Tell us a little bit about the thoughts behind the market this year and what might be coming. And again, I'm sure it's hard to tell.
Yeah, so there's been a desire to hold the farmers market, and these were exempted under the governor's order, much like a grocery store, the ability to, buy food, and in this environment, a little bit more offering of fresh food. And then also, supporting of some of those vendors, I think was another important component. So, we spent some time at a staff level wanting to make sure that if this was done, that it was done in a way and communicated in a way that, this isn't the farmers market of last year where we gather and it's a social outing and bring the kids, and that's not what we're doing. This is a, bring one person, come quickly, look with your eyes, practice social distancing, get your products purchased, and then go home. So there won't be, the music and all the things that usually make the festive atmosphere of the market. This is really more of just a support the vendors and get access to fresh food kind of a market. So they're moving forward with that plan on April 16th. You'll start to see some communications on that. It would be outdoors in the community center parking lot with spacing provided. And again, we really ask people to think about before you come, think about what it is that you might want to get when you get there, and then come alone if you can, and make your shopping quick. And really think about practicing those social distancing things, much like you would do hopefully when you're at the grocery store. So we're moving forward with that on April 16th.
All right, let's talk a little bit about people getting outside. That's been one of the calls for people to make sure you still get exercise while you're staying at home. But that leads to, what do we do at the playgrounds and the sport courts within the city? What was the discussion at the special meeting on the 6th about those two areas?
Yeah, and no doubt we've received a lot of concern from the community in terms of how people are utilizing the parks and the different sport courts and skate park and those things that we have available here in our wonderful park system in Maple Grove. And our mission is to make sure that we are providing that resource to the community. I think now today it's even more important to be able to get outside and get some fresh air. It gets tough and gets long, being in your house for hours on end. And so we share the concerns about folks that aren't following the social distancing guidelines. We don't want to take those resources away from everybody and those that may be following those protocols. We have enhanced some signage at our facilities. And the other thing that we've done is we've assigned some of our parks and recreation staff to be park ambassadors and to be out there doing monitoring, education, and redirecting folks in the parks. I think some of the biggest areas of, that have been representative concern is, sport courts where basketball games are going on. Certainly some playgrounds. It seems like that has gotten a little bit better. We have some clear messaging around that. And then the skate park. And so we are utilizing those park ambassadors, and of course they have the backstop of the police department that can come and help us redirect folks and move them along and remind them what the protocols are. So we really want to give this a try here to make sure that we are providing those recreational opportunities in the community during this time, but that we're encouraging people to do that in a safe way. I mean, it's tough. You're even out on a trail, and a lot of cities are dealing with this in Minneapolis where they close streets because the trails are so full. People want to get out. And so I know we see that, even around the trail around the lake out here. A lot of folks out walking. And so I think everybody just has to take personal responsibility. And we will be out there as best we can monitoring and then following that up with some enforcement. So, if people have concerns, we encourage them to call. We're happy to respond. We can't be everywhere at all times. We will do our best, but if there are things that people are seeing that are bringing them concern, they certainly can give a call to the non-emergency line down at 911. And we can respond to that, but we're going to give this kind of enforcement, education, redirect protocol a try for a while.
Very good. Final note from the special meeting talking about COVID-19 response was the Apex Energy Efficiency Project. So something we've talked about for a while. Give us an update of what's happening there.
Yeah, so this is a project that we're kind of midstream on and ready to pull the trigger on, that we've been working on for probably over a year. And this was to do some projects in our city facilities to improve the energy efficiency. So it was some lighting projects, some work on building envelope, and then solar, a number of things that we have been working on and planning to implement. And so we wanted to have a discussion with the council to see, given where we're at, do you want us to continue? Should we put this on hold? There's great value in moving forward with this work. We see the efficiency gains that we could get in some of our buildings. Even the government center is now 20 years old. The lighting that was when this building was built is, today you can do the LED lighting. It's much more efficient. The rate or the payoff period type of investment is really quite quick. And so we got some feedback from the council. I think the notion is to come forward on the 20th of April with maybe a little bit of a modified program. We're going to play a few things that were a little bit higher cost, slower return, and then proceed with some of those things that are kind of really no-brainers in terms of improving the efficiency of our buildings. So you'll see that come back on the 20th of April.
Very good. So that wrapped up the special meeting before the council meeting. That was about an hour and a half for that meeting. Again, talking specifically about COVID-19. Now to the council meeting from the 6th of April, it was just over an hour, and there was one business that was really the spotlight of this and had to go through a number of different steps. We'll tell you about that in just a second. The fire chief, Tim Bush, did give a little update after nothing was pulled from the consent, just to, again, let people know about the processes with COVID-19. But let's get then to the public hearings, and the public hearing dealt with ProMed. So remind us again a little bit about ProMed and what were the various steps they had to go through, not just the council, but also the EDA.
Yeah, a lot of action. A lot of items on this business proposal. So ProMed is a company that's currently located in Plymouth. They are a med tech company that does work in the combination medical technology industry. So a device paired with a pharmaceutical type of product line. And this is an expansion project for them. So they'll be retaining their space and jobs in Plymouth, but this is an expansion project. And the bulk of this project is really kind of med tech incubator space. So a lot of lab space, clean room type space. And Wayne Kelly is the CEO of ProMed, and they really focus on kind of those early to mid-stage companies where they're kind of going through the federal process to get approval for their products, and they help facilitate that and give them some space or lease them some space to utilize to assist them going through that process. So the beauty of this project, or why this project is so important, is it really can be a multiplier for the med tech industry here in Maple Grove. And so we were really excited to be able to work with Wayne and his group and bring this project to reality. They were poised and ready to move forward. We have been working with the state of Minnesota on this project. The Department of Economic Development is at the table with over $1.5 million in assistance for this project, which is quite significant for DEED to be at the table that way. And those come through the Minnesota Investment Fund as well as the Job Creation Fund. So a lot of work goes into getting that kind of state funding lined up. And so couple of the actions on Monday night were with regard to the city has to act as a conduit for some of that state money coming through the city and then to the business. So there were some approvals required for that process with the state. And then they were ready to go through their land use approvals process. So part of the actions on Monday night were for the concept stage plan, development stage plan, and then the final plat. So ProMed, the new building will be located kind of at the just along the Wedgwood Commerce Center there, Wedgwood Commerce Center along 494, just north of Bass Lake Road, just kind of now due south of the new Abbott building there, which was the former Hartford space. The Abbott just acquired or leased that space and moved into that building. So there was a third lot that was available there with those 2 office buildings, and that had sat for a number of years and had proposals come and go, but this one seemed to be a really nice fit for the space. So very attractive office building, quite a bit of office space in there. Some of the ProMed leadership staff will be moving up to this new facility. There'll be some meeting rooms. Medical Alley is participating in this project and very supportive. They'll be doing some, meetings and trainings there. So this building will really take on kind of a really unique flavor for the med tech industry here in Maple Grove. So very attractive building, 2 stories, but a very kind of tall entry, beautiful glass entry to the building. And I think it'll be a great fit for that site and a really great use for that area where a lot of med tech industry does live over in that neck of the woods. So they did get approval for all of those land use entitlements. So that piece was completed. And then, like the state being at the table, they had made the request for city to do tax increment financing on this project. And so we worked through the process to put together an economic development district. Economic development tax increment financing districts are for 9 years, so kind of a limited scope, but it's really to provide kind of some of that upfront that financing to help them get that project put together. And so the process we go through is for a pretty extensive review of their financials for the project and has to pass the but-for test. But for the participation of the city, these projects would not occur. And it's a pretty modest investment on behalf of the city. The value of that tax increment district over the 9-year term is about $900,000. And the city's portion of that, roughly about $450,000. And so the piece that I think was really part of, the importance of this is that when the state is at the table in a significant way, they always, they look for that city involvement and that city support of that project to kind of be a partner with them at that. So I think, one of the other biggest selling points of this project is the job creation. Immediately creating 125 jobs. They have another 60 jobs that would be tenants in the building, these smaller, early to mid-size, mid-start med tech companies that would lease space in the clean rooms and lab space there. And so creating great jobs, great wages. And that's, really the focus. So anytime we're going to be considering using tax increment, we really put the lens to a project and what kind of jobs are they creating and what kind of value are they creating in the community. And this was a project that really checked all the boxes. So this project was supported fully by the council, and you'll see a couple things come forward. They'll have a resolution of approval for the land use entitlement pieces. That'll be at the next meeting. And then we will have that TIF agreement that kind of lays out the specifics of how that increment would be provided to the business on an annual basis. So this is a project we've been working on for about 1.5 years. Yes. And they were anxious to get the approvals and get that in place. I think they'll continue to monitor, what's happening in the world today and the economy. We booked in some flexibility with the deed financing as well as our tax increment program to be able to respond to, maybe them starting this project in 2021. They would like to go yet this year, but I think, just wanting to make sure they have an understanding of where the economy is going, where the world's going, in light of the COVID situation. So great to have this project through the process. It's been a lot of work, but it's a great project, and we're hopeful that everything will work out and they can move forward, within the next year.
And final note on that approval, they did have to take that before the EDA. There is a technical process as well with the EDA as far as the funding. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So anytime we're doing a tax increment financing district, those are administered and overseen by our Economic Development Authority, which is the same body as the City Council. So it's kind of a technical approval that it has to go through the EDA process as well.
Very good.
Yep.
Couple final notes from the meeting on the 6th. There was an update from Brett Angel. We normally hear about him talking about development of new businesses, but you're doing a lot of work, as is Brett, related to helping the businesses during COVID-19. Summarize his report for us about what the city is doing to help businesses.
Yeah, so we've really tried to take the approach of being kind of a clearinghouse and resource to the business community about what's out there, either for state or federal programs to assist them during this time. And we know there's been a lot of demand for those state and federal programs, and maybe some difficulty in getting access to those. And so we're trying to be of assistance to the business community. If you are a business out there that's running into issues, give Brett a call. We can try to help with that. I know he's been in touch with a lot of our lenders here in town, talking with them about, who's participating with these SBA programs and the payroll protection program, those kinds of things. So we want to be a resource to the business community. And so our website has that information indexed in one place where folks can go get that. And then if you have questions, Brett has spent a lot of time on a lot of conference calls with the state and the feds, just making sure we're well educated about what those programs are, so that we can hopefully answer questions for folks or help them kind of navigate where they might be able to tap into some of those programs.
Very good. Let's get to a few staff updates then at the meeting on the 6th. The update from Community and Economic Development. Their next Planning Commission meeting, I understand, is going to be canceled. And then they've got a couple projects that might be coming forward soon after that. Give us that update.
Yeah, so they're looking to do a Planning Commission again on April 27th. We've got some proposal for some additional townhomes and apartment project up off of Territorial Road. This is kind of just north of County Road 81 up there. They did have some concept stage approvals for these up there, and now they're kind of moving forward to the next part of that. And then at the Village Arbor Lakes, they're looking at some senior housing units in that project. And so we'll see those projects come before the Planning Commission later in April.
Very good update from the city engineer talking about public works as well. I-94, people have probably noticed there's some changes happening there. That project continues on. What is the update residents should know about the construction out on the highway?
Yeah, so we, if you're out, if you've been out on the freeway, and I know a lot of people aren't doing a lot of traveling right now, but the work between Maple Grove and Rogers is underway. So we're going to start to see some overnight lane closures in both directions on I-94. The four-way intersection at Fletcher Lane and Territorial Road in Rogers has been converted to a three-way temporary signal. So that's kind of been a pressure point in the system out there as people head towards Rogers or out beyond Hennepin County. Detours to accommodate the construction of a roundabout at the intersection of Territorial Road and Brockton Lane in Rogers. And then beginning April 15th, the Elm Creek Rest Area in Maple Grove will be closed until November 1 for site improvements. And that was a planned piece as a part of this project. They're doing some work there, and we've had some feedback that, boy, it's a tough time for the trucking community. Why would we close the rest stop? And we've had some discussions with MnDOT about that. This project from Maple Grove, it really goes all the way to Clearwater. So this is a big construction project this summer. And I think their intention was to keep the Clearwater truck stop open while the Maple Grove one was closed, and then try to shift that capacity back and forth. I haven't heard otherwise that MnDOT's considering other plans at this point. So I think they're moving ahead on that as far as we know today. But just be aware that this project is going to get going here. And I don't know, traffic volumes out there are pretty light right now. So it's a great time to be getting these projects going, and hopefully they can maybe work a little bit quicker because of the volume of traffic is less, and they can do a little bit more than what they anticipated in the same time frame. So we'll see how that goes. But this project, long-awaited project, is getting underway right now.
And speaking of streets, just from a city standpoint, street reconstruction, tell us about that progress. Will that continue on?
Yeah, we're moving forward with our street maintenance projects for this summer, and we had quite a bit of, we had a big big year of projects this year. So those
Yeah.
projects are moving forward. Our engineering department, we are working, on not only those street maintenance projects, but we have some other projects going for development purposes that'll be going this summer. And so if you have questions or concerns about that, our engineering staff is available in the office here, and you can get in touch with them. All that information is available on our website if you have concerns about that in the community.
Very good. Final updates from the meeting on the 6th. You mentioned a little bit again about the financial impact that we talked about earlier in the special meeting. That will come back to the council April 20th for an update. Also staffing plan, again, dependent on what the governor does later today as we're recording this. And then the Board of Appeal, again, we wanted to mention just what is the Board of Appeal once again, and how is that going to be handled a little differently?
Yeah, so this, the first Board of Appeal meeting is next Tuesday, April 14th at 7 o'clock p.m. And this is our annual process where residents and business owners can appeal their property values that would be set for the 2021 valuation or tax period. We'll be holding that meeting in electronic format like we've been doing for our last 2 meetings now. Little bit of a different, we did have a call-in number set up for the public hearings that we did on Monday night. And that was more of a test to see how that would go. We're going to give that a whirl again for our Board of Appeal here and see how that might work. We do want to encourage people, if you are thinking about filing appeal to your property value, to get in touch with the assessor's office as soon as you can. Okay. You can do that by phone. You can do that by email. There's an online form for a property valuation appeal that you can fill out. The more we can have advance notice, the better we can be prepared for that April 14th meeting. Right. So we really encourage people to use that phone in, email, that online form to get in touch with our assessor's office, and they can work with you and get that appeal ready to go forward on April 14th. So a lot of resources there available for folks to get in touch with those staff members. We will have a call-in that night, but the more, if we know that you're going to be coming in, we can get that information ready, get that prepared for the city council who serves at the Board of Appeal. So we really encourage people to take a look at that and get in touch with us ahead of time.
So as you see, a lot happened on the 6th with the special meeting and the regular council meeting. Over a couple hours worth of conversation. We packed it into about 27 minutes. So Heidi, we've got about 3 minutes left to touch on a few other items that we have from notes from the city. We've touched on some of those. Mention real quickly, if you would, the My Ride grocery food shelf pickup. That is something that the city is assisting on during these times. Yeah,
so this is another area where we've pivoted. We've made our My Ride transit service available for online grocery orders or pickup of household essential items from a Maple Grove store that has online shopping. So My Ride will pick up your order and deliver it to your house. This is really, we're intending to try to serve maybe that vulnerable population, the senior community, and help them out with getting some of those necessities that they need at the house. So you can give a call over to the My Ride program. All that information is available on our website. And make sure that they can help you out if you're having trouble getting, those things from the stores.
Very good. Blood drives, very important at this time as well. And the city has a few coming up. Give us those dates.
Yeah, we've got one on Wednesday, April 22nd and Tuesday, April 28th. These are both being held at the Maple Grove Community Center. The slots are filling up fast for these, which is great. So thank you to this community for their support. But we do have another couple dates coming up in the next couple weeks.
We'll mention the city's website again, maplegrovemn.gov, a place to find out about postponements, cancellations, a number of events that people are familiar with happening during the springtime, again, are changing. So go to the website to find those out. Let's talk about the census real quickly. What should people remember about the census? Kind of hard to think about that during this time, but it is going on.
Well, and you can respond online, so you can do it from the comfort of your home. You should have probably received by now a few mailings to your house asking you to respond to the census. We have had great response here in Maple Grove so far, about 68% response rate. National response is about 45.1. So we appreciate those folks chiming in. This is important information. It determines, congressional districts, all those kinds of things, some funding pieces. So we really encourage people to either, to hop online and contribute to the census.
Couple final notes. The tree sale is still on within the city. Orders accepted through April 15th with a May 9th pickup date. Website, the place to go for that. And also hydrant flushing, that still happens as well.
Yeah, we're out sweeping streets and doing hydrant flushing. So, our goal is to make sure we're keeping up with all the maintenance in the city and keeping the city looking good during this time. There's a lot of important work that we provide, we perform on a calendar basis, that it's important that we keep up with that. So you'll see staff out doing that kind of work over the next few weeks here.
Thanks for the update. The next council meeting will be on April 20th. And again, if you want more information about topics we touched on, maplegrovemn.gov.